Hi guys, it's Morgan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about episode 4 of season 1 of the Winchesters, Masters of War. Now, if you haven't seen the episode, there will be spoilers in this review, so stop watching if you don't want to be spoiled. So, here's my review for episode 4 of season 1 of the Winchesters, Masters of War. Right when the episode started with an empty hallway at a hospital, I immediately knew that things weren't going to end well. And we saw a man named Patches walking in the hallway, and he ended up face to face with someone in a mask with a spear. And somehow a spear appeared in Patch's hands, but that didn't help him, and he was killed. So things definitely didn't end well. I liked seeing John and Mary sparring with each other. And it was also funny when Carlos interrupted them. But then Carlos told John and Mary about the death at the hospital. And John also found out that Carlos was in the Navy. I really liked learning more about Carlos in this episode. It was also really sad when Mary stopped John from going into a room, and Latika told him that it was Maggie's room and no one had been in there since she was killed. I felt really sorry for John when he saw the cross necklace that Patches had, and it triggered him into remembering when his friend Murph died. It was also a surprise when Mary found out that Kyle, the boy that she saw a movie with in the last episode, was a reporter and had talked to Patch's wife. I also thought it was weird that John didn't say anything to Mary about seeing the person in the mask while he was in the bathroom. But he probably thought he just imagined it. I really loved seeing Carlos and Millie meet. And I also thought it was smart how Carlos was able to get the receptionist to let them and John talk to Patch's therapist, Dr. Z. And even though it wasn't great that Mary lied to Kyle and said that Patches was a family friend, it did help her find out that what happened to Patches had also happened to other patients, and Kyle was following the story. I still think that there's going to be more to Kyle, because what are the chances that Mary and Kyle are looking into the exact same thing? It was really emotional learning about Carlos's experience in the Navy during the therapy session. And it was also clearly hard for John to talk about Murph during the therapy session. So it was nice that one of the other men in the group, Jimmy, tried to get Dr. Z to leave John alone. But then when Jimmy left and John followed him out, out, Jimmy disappeared. And then John heard him talking to someone in another room. And then Jimmy was killed. Well, it looked like he was killed. When Carlos told John, Mary, and Latica that Patch's file said he was seeing a person in a mask, I thought that John was going to tell them that he also saw the person in the mask, but he didn't. And Carlos only found out when John confronted Dr. Z. I know that John didn't like being in the therapy session, but it was really nice to see how it helped Carlos. It was also emotional when Mary and Latica went into Maggie's room, but they were able to find out who was behind the murders. But since it was a god named Mars Nito, it was definitely going to be hard for John and Carlos to defeat him. I thought it was a good idea that Mary and Latica got Millie to help them help John and Carlos fight Mars Nito. But I also didn't blame Millie for being worried, since her son was in danger and she knew that John wouldn't walk away from a fight. It was also a surprise when it was revealed that Mars Nito had disguised himself as Jimmy, and Jimmy's death was an act, and that he wanted to get John ready to fight the Akrita, and said that he would let Carlos go if John fought him and joined him. And even though Carlos told John not to, John agreed. Even though I knew that John was going to be okay, since we see him in Supernatural, it was still a relief that he was able to beat Mars Nito. With the help of Mary, Latica, and Millie, since they destroyed Mars Nito's amphora. But seeing John beat Mars Nito up was pretty extreme. So I didn't blame Carlos for being shocked when he saw what John had done. It was really nice to see how supportive Dr. Z was of Carlos. And it was also really nice to see Mary let Carlos stay with her in Maggie's room after everything Carlos went through. I also loved when Carlos told John that John could talk to him if he needed to. It was also really sad to see John crying in the bathtub, so it was good that Millie was there to comfort him. I hope that eventually John is able to tell Mary, Latica, and Carlos what he's going through, since it's clearly really hard for him to talk about. Thanks for watching, guys! If you saw the episode, let me know in the comments what you thought about it. And if you want to see any of my previous reviews for the Winchesters, check out the playlist. And if you want to see any of my future reviews for the Winchesters, or any of my other future videos, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.